Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
WFLA-TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is JB Buno with WFLA-TV in Tampa, Florida. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear.
And with that, let's get underway. Joining us here on Tracking the Tropics from more than 200 miles above the weather that we track, NASA astronauts Megan McArthur and Shane Kimbrough aboard the International Space Station. It's an honor to speak with you both today, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here. Look forward to talking with you today.
Megan, we're going to start here by taking a look at those images that you snapped of Hurricane Elsa. Can you explain to our viewers here joining us on Tracking the Tropics the role that the International Space Station plays in monitoring weather from space? And can you also describe how Elsa appeared to you from the International Space Station?
Sure. Well, we have a beautiful vantage point up here, 250 miles above the Earth. We have a number of windows throughout the space station, but we have a really lovely viewing area called the cupola that has a series of windows together that gives us a beautiful view of the Earth as we go around. And actually, Shane and I had been talking over the weekend, and he said it would be a really neat idea to see what we could see as Elsa was developing over the Caribbean. And it turned out that the next time we were passing over that area, Shane was busy doing something else, so I went in there and grabbed a camera and took some pictures. And it was incredible to see. You could definitely see the formation, the circular formation of the storm. And as we approached, we got some really interesting views. And it was also very interesting to me to see it kind of with as the backdrop, you know, from some of the different structure that we have on the space station. So I tried to capture that feeling as much as I could for folks on Earth to see that. And at that time, you know, we still up here, you know, I'm not tracking the weather as much as I would do at home, certainly if I lived in that area. So I wasn't sure of the development of the storm, how big a storm and how dangerous it was going to be. And so I just wanted to share kind of from our vantage point what it looked like to us as it was developing and make sure that people at home could see that as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Kind of going along with that, Megan, when you know your orbit with the International Space Station is going to go over the tropical Atlantic or a specific tropical system, do you guys change any kind of operations on the ISS to kind of get any kind of data? Do you make sure you get pictures? Talk a little bit about when you know your orbit's going to go over a tropical system.
So there's a program at NASA, Crew Earth Observations, and so we will get asked to take photographs of certain things. Sometimes it's tropical weather. It might be a volcanic eruption. It might be wildfires. Sometimes it's bird migrations. So we will get throughout the day notifications that we're going over different parts of the planet. But normally our work is ongoing with the research projects that we're doing on board the space station. And if we can stop and take some photos of things that are developing on Earth, we absolutely will do that.
We are, of course, monitoring the tropics pretty carefully, but you guys have some projects that are ongoing. I was reading about the weather-related CubeSats. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how data from CubeSats, especially the weather-related ones, help us with our forecasting here on Earth.
I don't know a whole lot about those, but I'll take a crack at it. So we just let one of our cargo vehicles go a couple weeks ago called Cygnus, and attached to Cygnus, once it released from the space station, it was going to deploy these CubeSats. And one of the CubeSats was looking at the ionosphere and seeing what was going on with that above our planet. So that's all I know about it. We don't get any data from it, or we don't get the research from it. But the researchers on the ground certainly are the ones that are going to have that data and know exactly what they're looking for, and we'll get out of that science experiment.
Again, we've got Megan McArthur as well as Shane Kimbrough from the International Space Station joining us here, everybody, on Tracking the Tropics. And as we do here on Tracking the Tropics, we take questions from our audience members on social media. So we're going to take some of those questions here now. We're going to start here from Harry Spencer here in our comment section, hashtag Hey Megan. How long does it take for the body to readjust to Earth's atmosphere after being on the International Space Station for a long period, say 6 months? And then secondly, are you quarantined for any amount of time like back in the day, is the question from Harry Spencer.
So the body and the brain are pretty amazing in that we adapt to new environments pretty quickly. And I would say it took about a week for me to feel reasonably well adapted when I got here. And I expect it will take a week or two when I get home to feel Earth normal again. Your body has to go through a couple of different processes. You come home to Earth, you've got a lot less blood volume in your body. So your body is regenerating all of that. You're really tired. And your vestibular system is also a little bit messed up. We have a tendency when we move and space, we're going to keep moving unless we grab a hold of something to stop ourselves. So when you get home, your brain still thinks that's going to happen. So if you see someone racing at you, you think, oh my gosh, there's no way they're going to be able to stop in time. And they might just be going to stop and give you a hug. So it takes a little while for your brain to figure all that out. I would say about 2 weeks, I think. And no, we don't go into quarantine when we come home. We're able to see our friends and family right away. We do go through a lot of medical trials when we get home, but that's more to test the effects of the long-duration spaceflight.
Thank you so much, Megan. Now, this is meteorologist Amanda Hawley here from WFLA. This question in particular coming from our interactive producer here at WFLA. Now, it's been 10 years to the day since the last shuttle mission. Obviously, you guys didn't fly on that mission, but you both were on missions from the space shuttle that launched here from Florida. Talk a little bit about how you launched on those and what the difference is between having now launched on a reusable SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon.
Yeah, we both enjoyed our space shuttle flights for sure. I mean, it was such a massive vehicle, an incredible engineering marvel, really, when you look at it. And for us to have the honor to fly on it was great. I flew just a few months before Megan did on the shuttle. She had a different mission. Obviously, she was going to the Hubble Space Telescope in a much higher orbit than we did when we came to the space station just before she launched. So that was an incredible experience. And now we both, just a few months ago, launched on the Crew Dragon out of the Kennedy Space Center from the same launch pad that we launched on the shuttle on. So that was pretty neat. And we had an incredible ride uphill. And we're looking forward here in a few months to coming home back in the Crew Dragon.
Hey, I'm meteorologist Rebecca Berry. I've got a question from David Faisal. Hashtag Hey Megan, what is the future for young women in space and beyond, and will they play a role in our return to the moon?
I would say absolutely. There is a prominent role for young women and young men in our return to the moon. I'm very excited to see the number of young people and young women that are interested in becoming space explorers. And you know, when I joined the astronaut office, there were maybe about 20% women, and we're seeing that number go up and up. We're seeing more and more women apply to become astronauts, which I think is fantastic. And I think there's a great role for women to play as we go forward. I think that the representation is important, and having a balanced group is always good. We get new, fresh ideas when we bring new people into a group.
JB Buno here with you, everybody, on Track in the Tropics, being joined here by Megan McArthur and Shane Kimbrough, floating there in the International Space Station above about 250 or so miles above where we are down here in Tampa, Florida. I'm going to ask this next question here to the both of you on behalf of the second grader and all of us. One of the questions that I always used to have as a kid is there weather in space? Now, we track weather, of course, when it comes to hurricanes and tropical development in the Atlantic hurricane season, but are there any weather elements or anything out there in space that you have to monitor aboard the International Space Station?
Yeah, we have people that watch the space weather, we'll call it, where it's radiation events and things that come from the sun mainly, and because they will have an effect on our bodies. So it's very important for people, and we have a team at the Johnson Space Center in Houston that monitors that. And if there's some big event coming up, we will actually get in a shielded part of the space station to help prevent our bodies from getting all of that radiation. We can't prevent it all, but we can help ourselves. And so that's probably the only big space weather I can think of, not like you guys that are much more active on Earth.
no hurricanes to worry about then, or tropical storms then. Very fortunate for you, you don't have to deal with what we dealt with in 2020.
Back to
yeah, of course, our families are having to deal with those things.
This edition of Tracking the Tropics for us. I have a question about your space travel in general. Before Crew Dragon, there was almost a 10-year launch drought of astronauts from United States soil. What are your thoughts now heading into July on the upcoming orbital test flight of Boeing's Starliner capsule and the potential to now have multiple ride vehicles at our disposal?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's been a long time coming. Boeing's going to get their vehicle off the pad here in just a few weeks, and we're really looking forward to getting it on board and seeing that OFT vehicle, the Orbital Flight Test #2 vehicle for Boeing. And once that flight happens, then they're going to be ready to get their crew on board here a few months probably after that. So that's very exciting. It gives us more opportunities as an astronaut office to launch into space, and it gives us the flexibility to have different companies that are sending us to space. So we like the idea. We're really looking forward to it. And like you mentioned, there was about a 10-year gap almost between the last shuttle flight and the first crewed mission, which happened about a year ago with Megan's husband, Bob, and Doug Hurley when they launched the Kennedy Space Center.
Hey, meteorologist Rebecca Berry here. I was wondering about some of the other cool weather phenomena you might have seen. We love seeing the pictures of Tropical Storm and then Hurricane Elsa, but what else have you seen up there?
One of the things that's fun to do when there's a night pass, we go around the Earth every 90 minutes, so we get sunrise and sunset multiple times during our complete day. And so if you have a chance to look out the windows at nighttime and you see thunderstorms oftentimes over the oceans, over huge stretches over the oceans, and you see it, reflected in the clouds, you can see when the lightning flashes, you can see the structure of the clouds lit up from inside. And I one time saw lightning, instead of kind of going down towards the Earth, kind of coming away from the clouds out into space, which I had never seen anything like that before. I was amazed, and I came, flying back down into the main area, and I said, "You guys, you'll never believe what I just saw." And so we talked about it, and I think it might be a phenomenon that's called a blue jet, where the lightning actually does project away from the Earth into, out into the atmosphere. So that was pretty amazing to see.
Back to meteorologist Amanda Hawley here. It's really awesome to hear you guys talk about the weather that you see from up there because, we get to see it from down here. What is the biggest difference being, above the clouds versus back here below? You said that you track the weather when you're on the ground here, but, being above it, what's the kind of biggest difference?
Yeah, biggest difference for us is, of course, we don't experience it. We don't have wind blowing on our face for about 6 months or anything like that, or we don't have rain falling on us like you do on planet Earth. But you know what our families do, and so we do hear about it through them. And we're concerned, obviously, when storms are headed their way, which happens often in Houston this time of year as well. So that's kind of how I guess the difference is we don't experience it personally, but through our families and friends, we certainly hear about it, and we're concerned when things are heading their way.
Okay, we've got a few more minutes here with you guys, and we're not done just yet, but we are going to transition from our Tracking the Tropics audience, which is basically worldwide. We have viewers all over that join us for Tracking the Tropics when we're really tracking those tropical systems. But now we're going to talk about our WFLA audience specifically here in the Tampa Bay area. So we're just going to kind of ask you some generally fun questions, and I know I have a question for Megan that is really exciting. Megan, I read in your biography that you like to scuba dive, and I'm actually a scuba instructor. So can you talk a little bit about the differences or compare them being neutrally buoyant while you're diving to being in zero gravity?
I absolutely love scuba diving. It's something that I miss, and I don't get to do nearly as often as I would like even before I left the planet. But of course, underwater, you can use your body and your fins to move yourself around, to propel yourself, to stop. And of course, in space, we're floating, and I can't do that, right? It's not very effective. And so you actually have to push off of a surface in space because the environment is just filled with air. It's just atmosphere. And so I can't push against the atmosphere to move my body. body the way you can underwater. When you're floating, you can propel yourself against the water. So that's kind of the main difference. But I think in general, you know, when we explore underwater and we explore in space, there's a lot of similarities. So we are not naturally suited to survive in either environment, right? So we use technology to help us do that exploration, whether it's robotic exploration or creating a special suit or a special vehicle to allow humans to explore those environments. So I'm always very fascinated by the ongoing ocean exploration, and I see a lot of parallels with what we do up here.
Guys, again, JB Buno here with you on WFLA Now, and we'll take this next question here from, this is just a question that we're going to have some fun with. When you look at the United States from space, it can be a little bit harder, I'm sure, to pick out a state like Kansas or Oklahoma, but Florida sticks out like a sore thumb. And you can see it down there, of course, the peninsula here in the southeastern United States. When you, each of you, I'm going to ask this to both of you, when you see Florida from the International Space Station, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Is it our white sandy beaches? Is it Tom Brady and the Buccaneers? Is it Disney World? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, this morning was the Lightning and their victory last night, so congratulations to all the Lightning fans of the Stanley Cup Finals. But to me, it means family, because most of my family is from Florida. Just north of you guys in Brooksville is where the Kimbrough family is from. So to me, when I see Florida, I think family.
And for me, when I see Florida, I think rockets. I immediately try to get the camera and get some pictures of the Cape. Every time I get to go to Florida, it's usually related to a launch in some way. And so for me, Florida is all about rockets, and that's just always a great time.
Do you guys have a moment, or while you guys are up there, that you just think, I'm doing the coolest thing, not only on the planet, but off the planet right now? Like, what's that moment that you have while you're up there that just really capsulizes the fact that you're an astronaut on the International Space Station?
Well, we have lots of moments like that. We feel very blessed, obviously, to have this opportunity. I think, ironically, maybe sitting around the table eating dinner, we have these moments every time like, hey, I can just toss this thing over to you, and you just open up your mouth and it floats over to you. And those are moments that you can't duplicate on Earth, but we do have a good time eating around the table here.
If I need to get something over there, I can just go up here and go across the ceiling to get something on the other side of Shane without making him move. So that's always pretty fun, too.
Love to see you guys flying around and flying through all the little different aspects of the International Space Station. So I, here at WFLA, meteorologist Amanda Hawley, I'm actually one of our NASA correspondents, so I go over and I watched you guys launch back in April, and I was very jealous watching you guys leave the ground. Definitely still a dream of mine, will always be, to be an astronaut here. But talk a little bit about moving forward, going into Artemis. You guys will come home within the next few months, but what role will you guys play moving forward with NASA, and how excited are you for SLS to continue to be stacked and us to start the Artemis program?
Yeah, that's a really great question. We're doing some experiments here on board the space station that are going to help Artemis. There's some equipment that we're testing out for them so that they can have, viable options when they go to the moon, and when they send either our colleagues, or probably not me, but maybe Megan, and as we send other folks to the moon here in the next few years. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to be certainly mentors just from the long duration aspect to our colleagues who may be going on there, and who knows what jobs will work when we get back, but we may be working in spacewalking or robotics or some other avenue there where we can help train our colleagues that are getting ready to do those missions.
Hey, it's Rebecca Berry again. I have to ask about the penguin. We're seeing it floating around. It looks so cute. What's the story?
So this is Gwyn. He is our zero gravity indicator. So the tradition, I believe, started with our Russian cosmonaut colleagues that would bring a zero-G indicator with them on their Soyuz spacecraft. So the tradition was kind of carried over by Bob and Doug. Actually, on the Demo 2 mission, they brought along a zero-G indicator with them that was a little sequined dinosaur. And then our sons chose this penguin to come along with us. So it's in the Crew Dragon with us. And then when we reach our engine cutoff, so we're officially in space and we're floating, but we're strapped down in our seats, the little zero-G indicator can float up to show that we're in microgravity at that time.
And JB Buno here with you as we end out here with astronauts Megan McArthur and Shane Kimbrough aboard the International Space Station. Before we let the two of you go, for our audience specifically here, in Tampa Bay, Florida. What do you have to say for everybody watching here on WFLA Now?
Hey, thanks for joining. We're having a blast up here. We'll get some great pictures of Tampa. I've already taken some, but I'll post them here soon. Again, it's near and dear to my heart because family's just north of you guys. And we hope everybody enjoys what we're doing up here. We're doing a lot of research and science for everybody down on Earth, and so that's really why we're up here. We're not up here to do things just for us personally. So it's incredible to be part of something this grand and so big, and hopefully we'll get to meet you guys one of these days when we get back to Earth.
Shane and Megan, thank you so much, and appreciate everything that you do up there aboard the International Space Station. And thank you to NASA for having us.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all the participants from WFLA-TV. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communication.